Welcome to Good Morning Thailand. Tim Newton here, and I've got Dr. Paul Crozier and Jet Gunther with me on the program. Now, we are going to be clarifying a lot of misunderstanding about the C word. You know why we can't say it here on YouTube. Also, a new way of getting around in the skies. Would that be useful here in Thailand? A quick look at our inflation watch and a preview of what's happening with the big announcements at the CCSA today. All coming up on Good Morning Thailand.
Could you please take a moment to click the like and subscribe button? It helps us way more than you know.
Great to have you with us on Good Morning Thailand. It's the last day of the week, and well, to say the least, it's going to be a very, very, very busy day. We've got some quite controversial things to discuss with a whole lot of code words, but it's my pleasure to welcome our guests on the program today. Firstly, right next to me, Dr. Paul. Yes, Paul. We've got Alex here as well. Sorry, I get too mixed up. Paul Crozier,
Yep.
and he's from Silk Legal.
Correct.
And what they do legal things about includes this, which we'll get to in just a moment. And next to him is our very favourite space pirate, Jet Gunther.
I salute you all.
Oh dear. Jet spent the last 3 hours. He came here at 6 this morning, and he's been doing his hair ever since. But it looks immaculate. So congratulations.
Very nice hair.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't say.
Takes a lot of work.
So you brought in some. Be careful. Some
Goodies.
goodies.
Oh,
Happy goodies.
the Happy Plant goodies.
Happy plant. So this is some sort of agricultural product.
Absolutely.
SAP.
Absolutely.
SAP.
Yeah.
But
Happy
we'll refer
plant?
to it today as happy plants.
Happy plant.
These happy plants are popping up all over the place.
And this is you bought this on your way. You and Alex just detoured on your walk into the studio today.
Tim, what would I do if I didn't do some market research?
Some market research, and this is a herbal extract.
It is indeed.
Herbal.
It's different from the other herbal extract. One is a happy extract.
Very
and-
happy
And this
indeed.
is a chill out extract.
To what percentage is this happy?
Ooh, this is
Ooh, should we say this on air?
Yeah, we can say a percentage.
Well, we can say it's a 33% plant.
33%.
plant.
33% happy.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
So if we sort of just lit this in the room here,
Now,
around about everybody in the office would be
very happy.
very happy.
They would.
Singing Pharrell
except
Williams
You'd
song.
break the law.
Okay, we're going to get to that.
Yep.
We're going to try and clarify some of the nonsense that's going on at the moment on all this. But
Well, I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, if it's above the legal threshold, is it legal to sell it? Is it legal for you to be showing this to the camera?
The happy plant is perfectly fine. It's the manufactured products that are under
Oh, I see.
controls.
Okay.
So the plant itself, the happy plant, is perfectly okay.
So this whole 0.25 THC.
0.2.
0.2.
0.2 now.
Oh yeah, so it's
So the whole
0.2.
0.2 threshold only applies to extracts.
Extracts, tinctures.
Because obviously you can't
Correct.
like
You-
control the level in the plant itself.
Yeah, technically you have species that are lower and some are higher, but no, you can't.
Okay.
Interesting, in Australia, the limit is 0.005%.
Wow.
That's basically nothing. Undetectable levels.
And so this,
Don't
I
touch it,
assume,
Jet, don't
is
touch.
under 0.2.
I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Okay, and what would you do with this?
Oh,
This
yeah.
herbal extract.
Well, this extract, and the disclaimer is there is no absolute scientific evidence to it, but many people say it's good for sleeping, aches and pains, stomach aches. People swear by it.
Good for your appetite.
Good for your appetite as well.
No, I think that one's good for your appetite.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
let's get on to.
So the happy munchies.
You're the happy munchies.
We are skating on very thin ground today. Also, time to welcome Carmel. Good morning, Carmel.
Good morning.
Hiding there in the background, our god of destruction.
Destruction.
Our voice of God. I'm sorry, got my gods mixed up. And we've also, speaking of gods of destruction, we've got Chai on the buttons today with his fluffy hair. And you brought in your own handmaiden, Alex.
Yeah, we did indeed. Alex comes around. His job is crucial. coffees and direction and market research.
Market research. So Alex is just on the ground frothing at the mouth there. We'll get to Alex later. Anyway, let's have a talk about today's big meeting. We will talk more about this later, by the way. A very big meeting today. We've got the double CSA getting together, and we've got 3 of our writers on the job to find out exactly what's going to be announced. Now, the decisions have basically been made this week, and they're going to be announcing them today, so meetings by the double CSA and their subcommittees during the week. Face masks, closing times of nightlife, Thailand Pass, COVID insurance, TM6 forms. So predictions on all these. I mean, Jet, you do these stories every single day. Paul, you've got a different perspective because you sort of advise on some of these things.
Yep.
So face masks, what's going to happen?
Probably not yet. Probably not closing times. I don't. Oh, thank you, sir.
Face masks? You think we'll have to still wear face masks after today?
Just judging by their views towards it, yeah. Yeah, TM form's probably going to be gone.
Well, hang on, I'm just talking about face masks.
Yeah, well, no, I just said probably not, judging by their approach towards it recently, their whole flip-flopping and all like that.
Okay, face masks?
Well, I think it doesn't matter. People here are going to wear it anyway. If you were in Japan 5 years ago, they were all wearing face masks on the trains and that. So I think legislation, law or not law, and it's really debatable if it's a law you've got to wear face masks, nothing's going to change.
So, Chai, you've got some video I took this morning, if you'd like to show that. Now, I was just walking down the street towards the office this morning and just turned the camera on, and 2 things were absolutely abundantly apparent. Everybody was wearing a face mask. And the other one was
Advised to.
it's a requirement, but is it legally enforceable? Our lawyer yesterday said probably not.
Yeah, but most don't realize that. They really think it's a whole bluff. They think they need to, because they have fines flashed in front of them and jail time and whatever. Prayut probably made an example of himself of getting fined over not wearing a face mask.
Sure, he's probably the only person that's actually been fined.
I'll tell you right now, if people knew it wasn't truly enforceable by law, I think you'd see a lot more people without face masks.
Okay, so the other thing I noticed in that video, you guys haven't seen it, is everybody riding a motorbike around Bangkok anyway, pretty much 95% wear bike helmets. Pretty much.
Really?
Well, that's what I've noticed. Certainly that video that I just showed, everybody in that video
on the
was...
main street where there's a lot of cops.
Okay.
You go on the subsoys, 3/4 don't wear helmets.
Yeah. What's your thing about bike helmets? Your view? Will you jump on the odd motorbike taxi? They wearing a helmet?
Well, they do.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think my impression is that almost half of motorcyclists don't. Like me in Chiang Mai, most people don't. Oh, but they wear their face mask though. Got to be safe. That's the more important safety.
And down in Phuket,
equipment.
it's well abused as well. A lot of people don't wear it, but certainly here in Bangkok, I notice most people tend to wear their. But when I jump on the motorbike taxi, they don't have a helmet for me.
No.
So if we're going to fall down, I'm going to land on them.
But you've got your face mask to protect
I've got
you.
my face
So
mask,
at least
so
you're
I'm
not going to
fine.
get COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, closing times. What's going to happen with closing times? At the moment, the blue and yellow zones from June the 1st were officially allowed to open until midnight. Is that going to change?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I think
Paul?
that it'll change in certain places. So the places suffering, Koh Samui, Phuket, Pattaya will probably change. But the rest they'll keep as it is.
So, my bet on that is that they're going to allow the closing times right around Thailand, not just I think it's only 30 provinces at the moment, including all the sort of tourist magnets. But my bet is they're probably going to allow some zones, and that might be certain sois in Pattaya, certain areas like Patong in Phuket. I think, you're probably right. Thailand Pass, the much hated, much debated Thailand Pass. Anything that they announced today is probably not going to happen like that. It's probably going to be July the 1st. But what's going to happen with the Thailand Pass, Jet?
I mean, all these guests are based on my own, like,
Sure.
yeah,
But you also do the
It'll
news every day.
probably go, because I think for them, they see that as being the number one impediment to tourism returning. Like, I think people will subject to wearing masks and going home early, but if they want people in the country first, so I think that would probably go.
What do you think, Paul?
I think it's tied up with the TM6 issue. I mean, you go to Canada, you go to Australia and places, you've got online passes to fill out anyway, but it's registered to your passport number. So if they were able to upgrade the Thai Pass and TM6 at the same time, then you can register your visa to your passport and away you go. So it removes the problem.
So, I think it's high time that they started using technology for all this. If they've sort of used the Thailand Pass as a bit of a pilot to test the technology, maybe it's something that we should introduce across the board and say, okay, if you want to come to Thailand, just dial up the Thailand Wonder Pass or something, and put in your details, and then you just walk through the immigration, show your QR code, and off you go. That would be, modern?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen, is it, Jet?
It make too much sense.
Okay. Got two more to go. These are predictions, by the way. We will have the announcements first. I promise we'll be first in English on thetiger.com around about 11:30 midday today. We've got Leah and we've got T, who are hard at work on this, and they're on the phone.
And I'll likely report on that in Thailand News Today later.
The details on
right.
Thailand News Today. I'll probably go online and do some sort of live update as well. COVID insurance. Sorry.
Sure.
I've
got insurance.
Hit the guests. Yes, you're right. So this $10,000 value coverage premium for COVID insurance, is this now, with I think less than 2,000 cases today, it's like negligible, very easy to handle, closing in on being endemic. Do we still need the COVID insurance? Or are we going to be stuck with that until we get rid of the emergency decree?
Well, don't forget, they're still talking about putting insurance and tacking on insurance into normal travel into Thailand. So,
Which may not be a bad idea.
which is not a bad idea. And $10,000 US is a joke. I mean, anyone who's seriously affected by COVID is spending many, many more times than that. So it's basically a minimal task. I think when they get rid of it, that gives them an excuse to put in place the compulsory insurance.
All right, so the COVID insurance, if the Thailand Pass goes, I think the COVID insurance will go.
Yes.
If the Thailand Pass, I think they'll probably keep it there. They've reduced it from 50,000 to 20,000 to 10,000 value, even though the premiums didn't seem to drop much in price, strangely. Any thoughts about the COVID insurance?
Yeah, it'll probably go. My bet is people, I think they'll want to get rid of restrictions that prevent people from coming in. I think they want to get people in, and whereas the regulations that concern being here, like the face masks and the closing times, I think they'll delay those.
Jet says COVID insurance will go. I'm going to hold you to these predictions. All right, the TM6 forms, these are the white and blue forms that you fill out. You sort of scribble them on the plane, or once you get off the aircraft, you're rushing towards immigration and you get to the line and they say, oh, have you got your TM6? And you have to go back and fill it out. So the future of the TM6, they're saying they're going to postpone the TM6 for a while because they're apparently too busy in immigration, even though there's 85% fewer tourists coming to the country. What's this whole deal with the TM6?
Well, don't forget, they got rid of the TM6 for Thai citizens a couple of years ago.
That's right.
And then they introduced the electronic gates. They've taken that away, and if you're a Thai national, you still go up and get your passport stamped, but you don't fill out the TM6. So if it means taking away the form and still looking at everything and stamping your passport, I don't think it's going to save a lot of time.
Agreed.
If the idea is to computerize everything, we talked about this with the Thai Pass, where it's a QR code and you've got basically self-help terminals. Fantastic idea. My bet, nothing much is going to happen. And my other bet is there's going to be a hell of a lot of problems when you renew your visa, when you go to immigration. They're going to say, where's the TM6 form? Oh, but I didn't need it. But come outside and we'll have a special discussion on how to fix that one.
Yes, hand in pocket. All right, so we don't These are just our predictions. So we will know today. Big decisions. There could be all or nothing. Pretty much when they did the same thing in May for the start of June, it was bugger all change. So this time, let's hope there are some more changes. So with that, we'll just go over to Carmel and see if there's any comments or thoughts before we have a quick break. Carmel, any thoughts?
Carmel?
Yes, a few thoughts. Steve U. Wilson said that PPE equals to like so many dollars. So there's no way the government is going to kill a cash cow. That's why basically he thinks that there's no way they're going to get rid of face masks or anything because that's the easiest way for
But
the
the government's
to.
not making money out of face masks.
It's tiny compared to
Yeah, I mean,
like
what-
the opportunity costs of people not coming because they're turned off by it.
That's right.
But I guess it's not just masks because PPE, it includes everything that like the...
But I mean, people aren't
materials
walking
that they
around
use
with
in
PPE.
hospitals.
I'm not arguing with you, Carmel. I'm
no.
arguing with the. I just don't think the government's making any money out of all this, really.
No.
And they will be much better off, as Jet said, if the tourists start flooding back. For heaven's sake.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sick Puppy said there's no reason, none whatsoever, to wear a face mask outside. Then Brie Udon said that the government will hang on to a couple of stupid rules or maybe come up with some new ones just to justify their existence. No, not the government, CCSA.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
So they're probably on a monthly stipend.
Yeah, bureaucracies always want to justify their existence and pay committees,
Sure, exactly.
focus groups.
Then there's one question. Salwan Dawadi said, asked, would the end of Thailand Pass mean an end to the COVID extension?
Well, the COVID extension, I think Ben mentioned yesterday, it's pretty much, it's very, very difficult to get. Even if you're a Russian now, they're sort of saying, well, really, can't you go back? I mean, there's a flight there and you can get a train. And
Exactly.
so I think the idea of the COVID extensions is coming pretty much to an end, and you're going to need a very slick visa agent and perhaps even deep pockets to get an
But
extension.
the
now.
borders are open.
Where?
There's borders. You can get to Laos now. You can get into
right.
Cambodia. So the border runs are back.
Are they?
Oh, they may be.
So, yeah, you can leave the country and turn around and come back.
Oh, you better take that.
Yeah,
That's important.
Who's on the phone? Do you want to share it with us? All right, let's get out. Well, no, we'll have a quick break and we'll come back. Well, do you want to have a talk about this?
Happy Plan.
The happy plan. We'll come back. So, Chai, let's have a quick break. And you are on Good Morning Thailand, and we're going to be talking about this stuff very soon.
And if you have your own, you've got 3 minutes to enjoy.
Yes.
At Regent's International School Pattaya, we are really excited to be introducing the A-Level programme alongside the International Baccalaureate Diploma programme. We are offering these two programmes really to prepare students best for university wherever they choose to go in the world.
Thank you for joining us on Good Morning Thailand as we bring you bits and pieces of life here in Thailand. Got Dr. Paul Crozier from Silk Legal, and we've also got Jet Gunther, our very favourite space pirate. What do you do during the day as a space pirate? What's your sort of main job?
I plan my next exploit or smuggling.
Anything to do with this? This is more space cadets.
Yeah.
Okay, so this morning, Paul and Alex were making their way to the Tiger, and you ran into a place. What's it called? What's the name of the premises?
I think it was called the Cannabis Cafe.
Did
said it.
Oh no, God.
The name of the premises.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's one. We'll see.
So try and cut that out
it
later.
was in the beginning.
The C Word Cafe.
All right, so
I knew we were going to bugger that up at
We're
some
going to have
stage.
to listen your legal services.
Yes. So there is a place where you can actually go and buy this rather potent herb, and these are the flowers or the buds of
The buds.
a plant. And what other sort of products do they sell there? Can you get a coffee or a...
you can actually get a really good coffee, and they
Really?
also have a number of sweets, liberally infused with various herbal products.
Are you going to get high off the coffee, or is it just taste?
No, it's just
greenish?
normal coffee. It's just normal coffee.
Okay.
Right, so coffee is a herb in itself. Well, a bean.
Bean.
Yeah.
So the question, probably more seriously, is that these announcements were made last Wednesday, Wednesday last week, on the C word and the. Is it legalisation? Is it decriminalisation? A lot of people jumped to the gun and thought, oh, okay, well, suddenly I can go and smoke this stuff recreationally and I can go and sell it to kids, or I don't know. A lot of people think that they can do things that I don't believe the government intended. And that at the moment, Parliament is still yet to have a bill introduced that will codify and put into law the actual just decriminalisation.
The do's and don'ts.
The
So
do's and don'ts.
We're sort of in a twilight zone, as I think one of our guests on Wednesday called the Wild West.
Yeah.
Can you, without saying the word again,
Point noted.
clarify, because you actually, as a legal firm, do advise people who have been looking at growing this stuff agriculturally, commercially,
Sure.
and your firm's actually sort of on top of
Yeah.
the laws, sort of.
Well, officially, there's 2,000 acres of this growing around Thailand. It's a very rugged plant, and it can be grown in many places. But to get the quality here, this would be an indoor grow. So the outdoor grows.
glass house.
Yeah, the glass house.
Right.
You get 3 crops a year, and it's a fairly productive way of doing it. That's how you get the quality. If you're talking about the stuff, the happy stuff you can buy on the street and you could buy 5 years ago, that's the low quality stuff, which is grown in fields outside, could have fertilizers, insecticides on it, not really great when you're smoking it, heavy metals from the soil. So it's actually a good thing that they're bringing in the quality happy plant.
Okay, so a few questions. By the way, this is the first time I've actually handled the happy plant in reality. I've smelt it in rooms where friends have been smoking it, but I've never actually touched it. So the question would be, how much is in that packet?
It's 3 grams.
3 grams. And what did you and Alex pay for this?
Well,
And are you going to call for reimbursement? That's what I'm wondering.
I told Alex to keep the bill, but
Keep the receipt.
see,
That's going to be
it's-
fun going through admin.
Yeah, it should be fun. 650 baht a gram is their list price, but the more you buy, the cheaper it is.
Oh, wow. Discounts available.
Absolutely.
That's
So-
how they get you hooked.
That was
Buy in bulk.
around about 1,900, nearly 2,000 baht.
Something around 1,500 to 2,000 baht for that, yeah.
Okay. And this is the extract
Yeah.
for the oils. And a lot of people swear by this, although there's a lot of scientific debate whether it actually does much. I was at and I've mentioned this a few times, at a function a couple of weeks ago, which was held at the Imcortia building,
Yeah.
and they were claiming that this can cure cancer. So I was a bit concerned that there are companies out there making completely vapid claims that don't seem to be enforced, or laws about the claims that you can make.
Well, Israel have a number of universities actually doing active work on this. There's 100 products or isomers that can come out of the cannabis plant.
Oh, so
And
you said it again.
so there's more than, oh Jesus.
We're
Out of the
stuffed.
happy plant.
We're not-
We are stuffed.
Can you get a beep on that?
Yeah, we got some. We'll be beeping it later. Don't you worry.
Beep it later.
We'll be beeping it later.
Beep it later. There's 100 extracts that come out. Many of those have alleged therapeutic properties.
Alleged. That's about it. Okay, so the big one. Can I smoke this stuff? Where can I smoke
Yeah.
this legally, or
Okay.
can I?
Recreationally.
Recreationally, okay. So recreationally, there is a black hole in the consumption of the happy plant.
A
So
black hole.
A black hole. It's basically a black hole because there's nothing there except the Tobacco Act. And the government's latched on the Tobacco Act to start to control the consumption of the happy plant.
By saying if you're smoking and it bothers somebody else, you can complain about it.
Correct, and put some fairly hefty fines. Don't sell it to kids, and don't sell it to pregnant women.
So a lot of the people who are enthusiasts for this plant have sort of jumped on this fact that they haven't specifically outlawed it and said, well, therefore it's legal. My understanding, though, from the Conservative government is that it is definitely not their intention to legalise the recreational use of this. That's my interpretation.
I think there's a void between the Cannabis Act coming into place, which they wanted to have. It's an act. Oh, Jesus.
You're going to be very busy, Chai. You're going to be very busy.
Yeah, you're going to be
That's
busy.
3 now. Yeah.
Make a note of the times. Go on.
The
C Word Act.
The C Word Act
Yes.
has not come into play. So
Right.
therefore the decriminalisation of the C plant has happened before it has come into place. Look, this is not unlike New York. If you went back to New York a year or two ago when the Happy plant was decriminalised, people thought this is it, we're going to have dispensaries
Happy
everywhere.
parades and
It's gonna be like
away we're gonna go.
Amsterdam.
So
Central Park blazing up. Yeah.
Correct. So what they did is, like all governments do, they think, how are we going to make money out of this? So firstly, the tax. So if we're going to tax it, we have to know who's going to sell it. And if we're going to know who's going to sell it, we're going to have to license where it's sold. So what you're going to have is a whole regime around the Happy plant. And that'll be licensing of cafes, licensing of products that include the Happy plant at various levels, and probably better definitions of what a medical use is, so that you can start getting into medical tourism as well.
I assume these guys don't have a license. It's just gray market,
Black hole.
space pirating.
Space
Correct.
pirating.
Yeah.
And the owner of the cafe said the same thing. She was wondering when they're going to come and ask her to apply for a license. But at the moment, her suppliers, and it's usually the proper word, the supplier, has said that there is no licensing regime in place.
Interesting times. The other question is, where, at around about, I don't know, 8 or 9 tonight, where is this actually going to be? Is it going to be in the safe at Silk Legal, or is it going to be in somebody's home? Alex? Paul?
Well, this is a
No?
I don't know. Are we invited?
Research purposes only.
Correct.
All right, we're going to have another quick break. Oh, no, we're going to go to some questions. I'm sure we've got some comments on that. We'll have a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about price controls. But over to you, Carmel.
Yes, Alex HG says that there seems to be some backlash regarding the decriminalization of the Happy plant. Is there a chance they might roll back on this, or is the genie out of the bottle?
I think that they're either brilliant or they've forgotten something. The brilliant side says this is a great way of seeing if the Thai public will accept recreational C as a general idea. And then they can go back and say, oops, there's a backlash, let's put in some pretty draconian law to stop this. And that'd be the brilliant side of it. My gut feel says they just forgot about all of this. So what's going to happen is there's going to be, again, the same thing. If they can get away with it and they don't have to do anything, yeah, just let it go. But if they have to, let's put in place some really tough laws. But like a lot of laws, it's just in the enforcement, right?
Sure. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, the Bumjai Thai Party, which is led by our Public Health Minister, Anaton, he went to the last election on one of his platforms, or the main platform, was the decriminalisation of the C word. He's got 51 seats in a 500-seat parliament, and his votes are absolutely crucial to the coalition to remain in power. I've always maintained that this decriminalisation has got absolutely nothing with a liberal approach by a very conservative, military-themed government, and it's all to do with staying in power. So, see if I'm right or wrong, but I don't think there's any intention of this government to actually really legalise this stuff. Anyway, we'll soon see. We're going to have a quick break. I've got Jet Gunther, the space cowboy,
All of the above.
Oh, he's
Limitless. The
spaced out.
possibilities. Yeah.
We've got Dr. Paul Crozier, who's not spaced out. He's from Silk Legal,
I can never stop saying the C word.
who can never stop saying the C word. And Alex, who's, I think he's got his own packet over there. We've got Carmel, and we've also got Chai. We're going to go to a break and come back and have a talk about our inflation watch. Good Morning Thailand gets up to 80,000 viewers per week, and we'd like to weaponise our audience for you.
That's right. So if you have a business or property or even your house that you'd like to sell,
Private yacht?
yeah, we could be in space.
I'm not sure about space.
Well, all you have to do is contact us on info@thetiger.com, and you can hire us up to a day or even a week, and we'll go to your property and do the show live.
Good Morning Thailand, coming your way. Welcome back to Good Morning Thailand. Dr. Paul Crozier and Jet Gunther on our panel today as we're getting demonetised on YouTube. Given the things that you can and can't say on YouTube, I don't know why this is so controversial, but it drives us insane. We're quite happy to talk about it in a sort of a modern adult way, but YouTube forces us not to. Anyway, we're going to talk about something much less controversial, but probably more hip pocket nerve stuff, and this is our inflation watch. There have been some things, I mean, Jet doesn't know because he gets driven around by a limousine, but...
Alphard.
What?
Alphard.
My most hated car.
Yeah.
But there has been some rising in cost, and the government's just come up with a new price control to retain the price or a cap on prices on 51 goods and services. I'll just quickly go through what they sort of are. Fresh and raw cooking materials like meat, eggs, canned food, packaged rice, seasoning sauces, vegetable oils, soft drinks, dairy products, electric appliances.
Really?
Detergents, fertilisers, insecticides. We've got pet foods, steel, cement, paper, pills.
Pills?
Yep.
Pills?
And medical supplies.
Medical supplies.
So,
Woo!
now we've got through all that. I'm just wondering if they've got a price cap. They're saying you can't put the price up, Paul, on
Yep.
Your happy stuff.
No, we're not talking about that anymore.
No.
Oh, that's come down.
Yeah.
You're selling omelets on the street, Paul.
Yeah.
You can't put the price up, but somebody's going to have to absorb the inflation. So
Yes.
it's all very well the government saying, well, you can't put the prices up. Who's going to absorb these costs?
What? Yeah, go on.
You go.
No, go on.
No, please, one of you.
No, well, at this point, if they're capping the price, I mean, then wouldn't it be the manufacturer? Someone does, right? Because they're not subsidizing it at this point. They're
No.
ordering people not to raise their prices,
Correct.
and so it's the retailer. It's probably the retail, unfortunately, because the manufacturer. I mean, it depends if it's the retail price or the manufacturer price. So it falls on the person that is
Yeah.
at that point in the supply chain. And is that even sustainable? Because
exactly.
I mean, they need to raise prices because of other markets, because they have costs too,
Sure.
right?
There's a couple of things when I'm thinking of it. Firstly, is for the manufacturers called deformulation. So you get a detergent and a drop will be enough to do the dishes. Suddenly you'll get a price cap detergent and a cupful's not going to cut it.
Mm-hmm.
So firstly they're going to deformulate, which is to cut the
Dilute,
efficacy,
whatever,
dilute
yeah.
it down. Yeah.
This is this shrinkflation idea. So you get
partially, yeah.
less,
Getting
for,
less
the
for
same,
the same-
for the
yeah.
same price.
Sure. And replace ingredients with cheaper ingredients.
Have
take
you
out the
noticed that
fragrance.
recently, though, with the watering down of the
Well,
quality of things?
I'm hoping the 91 ethanol fuel or whatever I put into my car is not being watered down. But it's just going up in price. I mean, it's up to 46 baht a litre.
I do notice that with food. Like if you go to the market and buy food, they do give you less ingredients for that 50, 60 baht.
Okay.
Less cuts of meat, less. So you're just getting less.
Cheaper cuts of meat.
Yeah.
So yeah, shrinkflation. What was the other point you were going to make?
I was going to say the other thing is some of these guys have had the best profits they've ever had. A lot of these guys are able to cut costs and buy in bulk. So I can see what they're doing. They're saying, look, the product's here, this is the price. But the other problem you've got is, what if I got other markets for it? Let's talk about palm oil and that. So I'm going to sell it here at a loss, and I'm going to sell it to India, just taking an example, at a huge profit. Where do you think it's going to go?
So yeah, well, the local market's going to have to adjust to the inflation. The government's trying to do its best to protect the consumers. They've put some sort of cap on diesel. I think it's going up to 35 baht. 2 months ago it was 30 baht. But they've been subsidising the actual retail price of diesel, I think, is now 45 baht. So the government's still copping quite a whack on the subsidy for that, but by trying to keep the diesel costs down, at least that's a way that they can help the supply chain a little bit. So that's our little chat about inflation today. Let's move on to another topic. Oh, do you have any hot comments you'd like to make, Carmel? We'll have no big ones. Okay. This is just another one of those little side stories. There's a company called Airlander who have developed, and Chai's got some photos here. Airlander. It's pretty much it's sort of a modification or a modern version of the hot air balloon, and these are designed to have a new generation of aircraft, a passenger aircraft potentially, to take people on shorter hops. So this little machine will actually carry up to 100 passengers. The seating looks pretty nice actually. It's sort of business class type seating. Great views, big windows, pressurised, can fly up to 20,000 feet, which is about half or two-thirds what a commercial jet will do now. They fly distances up to 400 kilometres, and you can travel to a speed of up to around 130 kilometres an hour. So it's nothing like getting on a Boeing or an Airbus. Would this be applicable here in Thailand? I was thinking, you could go from Suvarnabhumi to Pattaya and they could land on a sports field, potentially, if they got all the...
Walking Street. Right onto Walking Street.
Now, wouldn't...
That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
There could be a pickup just here nearby you guys. And then
Soy Cowboy?
Yeah.
From
And
Soy
straight down
Cowboy
Soy
to
Cowboy
Pattaya.
to Walking Street. Funnel.
And
Oh my goodness.
and if they don't have the late closing hours here, what happens is it'll be sitting there at midnight to pick up all the customers.
Yeah, that's the after hours
There you
party
go.
bus.
Yeah, it's the party bus.
The party balloon.
So, given that we've got quite good roads, for example, from the airport to Pattaya, there are quite good roads from Bangkok up to Chiang Mai or Bangkok down south to Suratani. But would something like this have a value in Thailand? I was thinking maybe from Bangkok to Koh Chang. Or an island or something.
Probably for the scenic factor too.
There's
I think
a big-
that's part of the whole trip. Like a business class like kind of experience. You get the views all the time, and you get service, and maybe they have a room for the happy plant smoking. Right?
Should be great.
You
we
are
can't
high
o-
up anyway. You may as well be
If
high.
you're at 20,000 feet, you can be high while you're high.
Yeah.
If you're at 20,000 feet, you can't really open
Sounds
the
like a
window.
blast. Like if they did it right, then yeah.
You could put a little cigar
My knee-jerk
lounge.
reaction to that was, is that safe, right? But then you mentioned that it's
Helium.
helium, right? And
It's not going to be like the Hindenburg, no.
Yeah.
No.
no.
Which did have some great photos, but it was a lousy ending.
You could suck on the helium and have a squeaky voice.
And be happy from it.
Wow.
Yeah,
we
possibly.
are. So I'm trying to talk about a serious thing here. Are there applications, gentlemen, for this in Thailand? Suggest some routes to me.
The route to Koh Samui comes to mind because if you've ever driven there, you've got to drive way past the Koh Samui, come back, line up at a ferry terminal, spend 2.5 hours on the ferry, and then
I've
get
had
across.
longer waiting for the ferry, believe me.
So, bottom line, Koh Samui, because the flights there are horrendously expensive because of the monopoly at the airport. They can bring some other planes in or other transport in like this. I think it's a winner because they could sell it for the less price. It's a bit of fun, scenic. They could put on amenities. They can have an open bar like they do. Remember, there's a ferry to Macau. You get on that ferry and they've got, depending on the class of travel, you've got drinks and you've got food. It's a great time.
I think the scenic factor, as Jet said, would be a big thing with this, but there's obviously going to have to be a fundamental change in aviation over the next, say, 50 years. And I'm sure that companies like Airbus and Boeing are working very fast to try and come up with the next generation of planes. We already note that they're getting rid of the big planes, the 747s and the Airbus A380s, the double-decker Airbus, and they're opting to do the long haul in single-aisle planes. There's this new Airbus 321 XLR, which can fly, 10,000 kilometres or something. So the whole idea of getting in a really, really big plane really, really cheaply to go long distances in the future is just not going to happen. The cost of fuel is going to be going up. So I think there's a whole lot of reasons why something like this might become an option for airlines for some particular routes. Mind you, you could pretty much drive faster than that, but there's a lot of wow factor.
Yeah.
No traffic. I mean, in the end, but you're not the one stressing out over the traffic and less accidents, obviously. You get to enjoy the view.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot going for it.
And there's plenty of good views in Thailand.
yeah.
Right, do you need to take another break, Jai? Or
Any
we go
comments?
straight into Carmel. Here we go. Carmel, over to you, the voice of God.
Yes, Lee Shepard said that he would definitely take that Airlander around Thailand. And Darm1 said you'd really need a decent travel insurance for that craft in Thailand. And Hans said getting helium is a problem now and it's going to get much worse. The concept is dead on arrival.
Well, that's an interesting thought. I figure once they've got the helium, though, it doesn't dissipate. It remains helium. They don't have to get new helium once they've bought it.
No, it's get old, but it may leak out for whatever reasons. There's no perfect way of keeping it in. So it's in fabric and it may leak through. I did read something about helium being in short supply. The supply, which is mostly, I think, US based, is drying up. Literally,
Can you make helium?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, so any of the pharmacists or chemists out there, can you make helium? I don't think it's an inert gas. It's what?
It's an element. It's on the periodic table.
It's on the periodic table. That's Alex. He's off the ground and he's now chiming in. So yeah, I don't think you can't make helium. So if you start using hydrogen, there's going to be a lot of people going, I'm not getting in that.
Including me.
Yeah, I think I'd be the same. They'd certainly have a no smoking section if it was hydrogen.
The happy plant's not an
That
option.
definitely no
Not an
happy
option.
plants. They'd have to be turned into cookies or something. Okay, so on to other matters, but thank you very much for that's the Airlander. I suppose you can just AIRLANDR if you want to read more about it. Looks really interesting. Carmel, on to other topics as we have a listen to what our listeners have to say.
Yes, it's back to the inflation topic. PG Santa said that a lot of imported commodities are priced in USD. So the big issue for Thailand that nobody is talking about is the spike in imports. It causes greater dollar outflows from Thai reserves.
So yes, the Thai baht has dropped against the USD. I think yesterday we noted that it was up to 35 baht. My feeling is that at some stage that's going to be dropping back down again. The US dollar can't keep on going up. It's sort of artificially inflated somewhat at the moment.
Again today.
What is it?
35.2.
Okay.
So yeah, it's certainly up there. But I mean, how much does Thailand import from the US? Probably not
But
that
a
much.
lot of other goods are denominated in dollars.
Good
Fuel-
point.
fuel.
The vast majority.
Very
It doesn't
good
have to
point.
be from America. Yeah.
All right, so that's my swimming pool came from the US, well, from a US company. I got a funny feeling it was shipped from China, but it was a US company, probably paid USD at some stage. Carmel.
Yes, Rusty Graves said that at least the government in Thailand is trying to do something about rising fuel costs because they don't care about it in the West.
Yeah, I mean, putting a price cap on the staples is all very well, but as we said, who's paying along the food chain? Somebody's losing some money somewhere, or as Paul suggested, the things that the ingredients are getting lesser, or the portion amounts are getting smaller.
Or the price supply is being diverted.
Yeah.
Sick Puppy just said that it's not inflation that you should worry about, but rather deflation.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
Paul, any comments on that?
This guy's an economist. Inflation can be good if it's controlled, and I think the issue is what's enough to be driving the economy. Deflation means basically the economy is slowing down, and goods aren't being purchased, and people are keeping money, etc. So, as an economist, some inflation is always good. Too much inflation is the problem, and what happens is the impacts of inflation aren't the same depending on the sectors of the community. People in the grassroots area, where they probably grow this stuff, are sensitive to prices changing, People in the city have a much higher disposable income, so a few satang more or less for pad thai is not going to be a problem.
I see.
Interesting, I was looking at the projections of Thai economists saying that the GDP of Thailand is likely to be some 3 to 3.5% this year, well, the rest of the world will be looking at that very enviously. Thailand perhaps not going into recession as a lot of the Western economies. Sure, it'll get dragged down, though, with the rest of those larger economies at some stage, though.
Well, you see, Thailand traditionally had a fairly high growth rate. It was the tiger of Asia for many years, and that's lost that mantle. The issue
The
is...
tiger.
See, tiger. I got the
Well
right
done.
word in this time.
Well done.
Yeah, okay. The issue is, when you're looking at the percentage growth, you've got to look at the base number. And Thailand's growing and growing, so the base number's growing. So a percentage now, in terms of absolute value, is probably worth more, but as a percentage, it's less.
What sectors are growing though? Probably a lot of people, especially tourism and smaller businesses, they're not growing.
Food exports must
Yeah.
be, I think,
Manufacturing.
Thailand's largely food independent, which I think bodes well for the future of the Thai economy.
Yeah.
Cars, they manufacture a lot of cars.
Correct. And still a lot of electronics. No, this cannot be an export industry because you can't export.
But I think if
this.
you ask the average business owner, mom and pop, or person, I don't think they're in with this 3 to 5% GDP growth. I think they're in deep trouble.
Sure. Kamal.
Yes, this is actually a comment that started at the beginning when you took a video of right in front of Asok Towers.
Of the masks.
Hans asked, is taking videos of people on the street still legal in Thailand?
Yeah, if they're in a public place, technically. Although I have a lawyer sitting next to me. May I engage your services for 30 seconds to talk about videoing people in public?
Sure. So the first disclaimer is I'm not a Thai lawyer, as you know. So
Yeah.
I am going to refer this to the Australian situation, and provided they are not specifically identified and there is no harassment.
They've all
or
got
other-
face masks on.
Yeah, they got face masks on. So I think if they can't be individually identified and there's no intent to be derogatory,
Yeah,
or
they're not singled out.
they're not
and-
singled out, I think it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Here you go. Thank you. Turn off the tap. I'm not paying any more. It's lousy advice anyway. Okay.
This is for the happy plant topic. Larry asked, can someone take it on an airplane from Bangkok to, what's CNX? Is it Chiang Mai?
Chiang Mai. That's
Chiang
a
Mai.
good question.
Well, there
Can
you
someone-
go.
Security.
So
Can
I
someone
dare you.
smuggle it?
I dare you to jump on a plane and take this with you.
Technically, you can. Technically, there's no
Wow.
criminal
I'm
sanctions.
flying to Chiang Mai on Monday. Should we?
I got a
cover
funny
this?
feeling that they might confiscate it for
might,
whatever reason.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, it's the
Ju-
the packaging.
And you've got to prove it's grown in Thailand. So that's the other problem you've got. If you've imported it from the US, for example, you've broken a number of laws.
Can I just?
So you can only purchase this
It can
that's
only be grown in Thailand.
grown in Thailand.
Correct. So it's like the US. If you bought the happy plant in one state, you can't necessarily take it across the border to another state.
Can I just ask another question, engaging our lawyer here today? All these laws in Thailand, do they refer to foreigners as well as Thais?
Tobacco Act does, but the ownership laws around the happy plant and the laws, cultivation laws are specifically designed to favour Thai nationals.
So can a foreigner grow a plant of this variety in their backyard or on their balcony and use it by themselves as a foreigner without a Thai in the house and be okay with the police?
Tim, technically you can't grow tomatoes as a foreigner in your backyard. It's a restricted profession, agriculture. So any foreigner getting involved with this is, strictly speaking, one, breaking the law, and if they don't have a work permit, working without a work permit.
Right. So if you are going to grow this as a foreigner, probably as you do right now, just don't tell anybody.
If you're growing it, you're supposed to report it by downloading this app and registering it, right?
That
And
app's in
Yeah,
Thai
that
only,
app's
isn't
in
it?
Thai, and it requires a Thai ID.
and it's advisory, not compulsory.
Right. Yeah.
As you said, Black Hole, Twilight Zone, Wild West. What a botch up. Carmel, back to you.
Yes. Genghis Kante said that the doctor, or are you a doctor or a lawyer?
Here's a doctor. What are you a doctor of?
Economics.
Right, there you go.
Oh, okay. The dog looks like he enjoys his munchies, and David S. asked, how much did it cost?
This one?
Yes.
This one costs actually between 600 and 700 baht a gram.
Oh.
So there's 3 grams there in most street stalls in Bangkok. I understand because they do have university-age children who go out and market research for me that it's even cheaper in Khao San Road and in Pattaya.
And I can just guarantee that Alex is going to claim this as an expense back at Silk Legal today. Good luck. All right, Carmel.
That is all I took.
Okay,
Yeah.
so with that, Jet, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
You've got to go and warm up for Thailand news today.
Yes.
And Jet will, I'm absolutely sure, be covering the details from today's CCSA meeting. That'll be coming out at 6 p.m. Thai time, along with Jet and his hair. And we have also Dr. Paul Crozier with us today from Silk Legal. Now, besides providing people with advice on this particular product and the agricultural applications and cultivation and opportunities, what other things do you cover at your practice?
Fintech's a big part of the practice. Obviously, it's now with the Bitcoin through the floor, it's an interesting area to be in. It's not growing, but it's still there. We do a lot of work in bankruptcy and restructuring called restructuring and insolvency. So that's a large part of the practice as well as standard corporate work. We do everything from set up your company to close down your company and do your visas, etc.
The coffee's not bad either. So
We do have good coffee.
If you end up going down to their offices, you were down Sukhumvit.
RSU Towers, Sukhumvit 31.
I was in a taxi. I can't
floor.
remember.
RSU Tower. Okay, yeah.
Yes,
It's
8th
right on the
floor.
corner of 31.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right on the corner. Get off in Emporium.
Yeah.
Quite close to this place, apparently. Okay, so with all that, thank you very much to Carmel. Any final comments or?
No, that's
No.
it. But then
Okay.
there was someone that said this is another day of a good show.
Oh, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully because of me. Anyway, thank you to Alex, thank you to Carmel, thank you to Chai, Jet and Paul.
Thanks.
And thanks to you for tuning in over the past week. We've got Jay and Natty back on the program next week. I'm back to Phuket tonight. I will not be taking that on the plane with me. But it's been great having you with us during the week. I really appreciate your support and we look forward to seeing you next time on The Tiger.